Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer, sitting out here in the front deck of my houseboat. One of my neighbors is just about to leave his slip, so we're going to watch some of that happen while I get started here. I want to talk to you about the Doppler Shift, Doppler Effect, and all that good stuff, and how I did a demo for North Carolina ITC. It was great, Charlotte, North Carolina. Here he goes. He's heading out. That'll get rid of the noise. That's great. So I was in marketing and sales and applications and training and all kind of crazy stuff. There he goes. That's Brian. So he's my neighbor. It's January, just in case you didn't know. Some people do go boating in January, in Oregon anyway. See you, Brian. And he didn't hit me. That's good. So there's a Bob and Doug in the Great White North. They talked about the Doppler Shift, and it works like this.
Don't forget the Doppler Effect. You see it before you hear it. That's right.
That's Bob and Doug McKenzie, and they totally have it wrong. So one time I was working and sitting in my office, and my boss called me up from San Jose, and he says, I want you to come up with a way to do the Doppler Shift with the tester, measure the Doppler Shift, and then let's do something with it. I'm like, okay, and he always had these crazy ideas, and so I tried some experiments, and I went to the Toys R Us, which is just right around the corner from where our office was. And I bought a ball, and I put a sun alert. Sun alert is that beep, 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 beep thing that you hear on the back of trucks or on the back of the school bus when it turns around over here. And the cool thing about a sun alert is it does not change pitch when the voltage changes. It's always the same pitch. So that's a really good thing for someone who's into test. And so I put the sun alert on the ball and threw it past the microphone, and that didn't seem like something that we could do for ITC, for International Test Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I tried a model car, and basically I had carte blanche. I could buy whatever I wanted and try it out and send him the expense report, and he'd sign it. And it was really good that way. But eventually I told Rick, I says, how's about a model train? He's like, oh, I love model trains. So he says, I'm going to come up and we're going to get a model train and do it. So I started working out the code and how I was going to do it. And we went shopping with Rick and bought a G-scale model train. G-scale's the biggest you can get, I think. And it's so big you could almost ride on it, but it's not quite that big. And so what we did is we mounted the sun alert on the bottom of it and tied that into the voltage from the train tracks with a diode, so that when the train was in forward, the sun alert would go. If you put it in reverse, it wouldn't go because it was negative voltage. So you put it in forward, it would beep, and so we can measure the Doppler shift with that. We use the tester to control an optosensor, read the optosensor at the front of the track and the back of the track. And we put a microphone in the station house in this station, and he built a generator which you could crank, and the faster you turn the generator, the more voltage it would produce, and that went to the tester. The tester would read the voltage and then power up the DPS, the device power supply, to an appropriate level that would go to the tracks. And so the faster you cranked it, the faster the train would go. It was kind of cool. It's kind of like a competition kind of thing. He had a booth maker build a booth because the economy was really bad then, so he had him build a whole tunnel, and it was done as in the theme Nextest, your light at the end of the tunnel, and here's look at what it looked like at the beginning of the show. And so we were getting ready for the show, Nextest, your light at the end of the tunnel. And you prayed to God that the light at the end of the tunnel wasn't that of an oncoming train. And so I was meant to stand in front of the end of the tunnel and give a demo to show off this thing. And he told me he wanted me to get a white tux. So I went to Mr. Formal and got a white tux. White shoes, white slacks, white jacket, white shirt, white everything, white vest, the whole shebang. And they set me up, cost me like $250, but again, you know, he would sign the bill, he would sign it, no problem. And so I packed all this stuff up. I got two pairs of pants and 2 jackets and blah, blah, blah. So we went to Charlotte, and we had a meeting before the event, and Rick was explaining to everyone what the demo was going to be about, and he said that he asked me to get a white jacket. And I'm like, no, Rick, you told me a white tux. So he was stunned, and so was everybody else. And so the next day, the show started, and I went to the show wearing this white tux. And I swear, people treated me so good. I would, you know, now this is the South, okay? North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, they treated me like a god, you know? I'd go near a door and somebody would open a door for me. And I would walk through a crowd and people would part. It was like Moses and the Red Sea. It was great. And so everywhere I went, they treated me like a god. And it was really fantastic. And so I did this demo where I would set it up, I would explain it to the customer, and here's a picture of me explaining it to a customer. The customer's sitting there, and me and my white tux. And in fact, one guy, he was asking a question of one of the sales guys, and I tried to answer the question, and he's like, no, 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 you're just a talent, you don't know anything. He doesn't know that I was doing the actual work. I coded it in C++, I did everything. I did the whole shebang, right? So it was really cool. So in this demo, what would happen is the train would be sitting at the front of the track, and the customer would go up and spin the generator, and the generator would make a voltage, and that would be picked up by the tester, and that would power up the track with a DPS, and the train would move forward, and the faster you crank the generator, the more voltage you get, and the faster the train would go. Now, in forward, the sound alert would come on, and the train would move forward with the sound alert going. Again, it didn't matter what voltage you gave it, the sound alert just came on and just always held that pitch. Now, the sound alert on the train would go past a station house that we built, we got it at the model store, and it would streak, as I say, it would streak past the train station with the microphone in it, and so we would get the Doppler Shift, the Doppler Effect. You see it before you can hear it. You would get the Doppler Shift. Now, the train was getting near the end of the track, so it would cover up an opto sensor, and that would trigger the tester, and the tester would say, whoa! And so it would apply a slightly negative voltage to the track, and so the train would basically slam on its brakes, and luckily before it hit the end of the track, and then start backing up, go back very slowly, and then cover up the other opto sensor at the other end of the track, and then it would stop, and it would be ready for the next run. So this was a demo we were doing for ITC. Now, in the meantime, while the train was backing up and everything, the tester would download the ACI, the analog capture instrument, and it would take that and send it to an FFT, and the FFT would produce this, okay? And here you can see the sound alert sound, and it was basically split in two. You didn't know that, but the tone should be a single bin, except that it wasn't because the train was in motion. So when the train was going towards the station house, the frequency would be increased, and then as the train left the station, the tone would decrease, the frequency would decrease, and that would be seen in the spread. And one of the early big bangs, you know, Penny held a Halloween party, and what was Sheldon? He was the Doppler Shift, and he tried to explain that. Remember, he tried to explain that to everybody, and nobody understood it. So it was a great demo, and we would play tricks on people. Like we would, I used a user variable, which is C++ thing. I would use a user variable to tweak the variability of the generator. So some people, if they cranked the generator really hard, it would barely move the train, and then other people, if they cranked it, it would like just a little crank and it would just haul ass. We never had the train shoot off the end of the track, thank God. But that was because of my brilliant C++ coding. And it was so great. I had lots of people come by and look at it. And we had one guy that came by. He said he'd been going to ITC for 20 years. He'd been going to ITC for 20 years, and he'd never seen such a good demo. So that was a big plus for me. So I got to do this for 3 days, and every day was so great. People were treating me with great respect. It was fantastic. In fact, one day we were wrapping up and getting ready to go back to the hotel, and the CEO, the president of Nextest, he saw me pick up my laptop bag, which was a black laptop bag, and he grabbed it and wrestled it away from me. He wrestled my laptop bag away from me, and I'm like, Robin, I can carry that. He's like, no, I will carry it. I don't want you to do it because you're wearing the white tux. I don't want to ruin this. So I walked back to the hotel with the CEO carrying my laptop bag. It was great. And his too, so nobody else helped him, so he just carried both of them. It was great. We had a really good time, spent a lot of money there, and I got through the whole thing 3 days with just 2 jackets and pants. Didn't spill anything on it, didn't mess them up, and it was great. Had a great time, and that was, one of the things that you get to do when you're like somewhat talented and you get a boss like Rick, is you get to do some really cool stuff, and that was a really cool demo. People loved that demo, and I got to do all kinds of stuff like that. In fact, Credence came. I remember I went to work for Credence twice, and they came after me a 3rd time to try to talk me into going back to work at Credence, and I said, no, I really don't want to. And they said, well, if Rick asks you to wear a dress or something, you can always come back. And I said, I've worn a white tux. So it wasn't a dress, but it was a white tux. So I don't think I'm coming back, and I never did go back to Credence. I did apply for a job at LTX, but that's LTX Credence, and I didn't. They did accept me, but I didn't take it. I didn't want to go. So anyway, that's the Doppler Shift. It was really cool, and I had a good time with it. It was great, and it was my work. I did all the work on it. I wrote the program. I did pretty much everything. Rick built some of it, but I built a lot of it and did all the coding. So it was fun. Anyway, from the river, this is Dan Bullard. See you later.